Muscular strength across a woman's life follows a predictable pattern. It rises through childhood, typically peaks in the 20s to early 30s, and then gradually declines. But that trajectory is not fixed. In the article, The Female Strengthspan, a life course perspective on resistance exercise, Avery, Faigenbaum and colleagues explain that the strength curve can shift depending on whether resistant exercise is performed early and consistently across the lifespan. The green curve represents optimal strength development, associated with improved well-being and longer life. The red curve represents suboptimal strength development linked to poorer health, accelerated aging, and a shorter lifespan. The difference between these two curves is consistent resistant exercise. This is Talking Sports Science with a summary of the article highlighting the benefits of resistant exercise and general recommendations at each stage of life. For many years, strength training for girls was surrounded by misconceptions that it was unsafe for growing bones or would lead to bulky muscles. However, evidence shows that appropriately introduced resistant exercise in girls improves strength and bone health without excessive muscle growth. This helps develop a resilient musculoskeletal system for long-term participation in exercise and sport. But the benefits extend far beyond this. Resistance training improves neuromuscular coordination, balance, posture, and foundational movement patterns such as squatting, pulling, and pushing, while also reducing the risk of sport-related injuries. Over time, this develops resistance training skill literacy, the confidence, competence, and knowledge needed to engage in strength training for life. It's recommended girls should perform muscle strengthening activities at least 3 days per week, ideally as part of 60 minutes or more of daily exercise. Training can begin with 1 to 2 sets of between 8 to 12 repetitions, using body weight or light resistance, for example less than 60% of 1 RM, with an emphasis on proper technique. As skills improve, resistance can gradually increase, progressing toward higher loads, for example above 80% of 1 RM, with additional sets when appropriate. Activities may be unstructured, such as outdoor play, or structured, such as supervised resistance training. The goal is not maximal lifting, it is movement quality and building a strength reserve. A strength reserve is like a bank account. The earlier girls begin depositing strength, the larger that reserve becomes, providing a protective buffer against injury, illness, and pediatric dynapenia, an age-inappropriate loss of muscular strength and power. Girls who start strong are more likely to become strong adults. Early strength development builds a reserve and develops the skills needed for lifelong training, and that foundation carries forward into adulthood. For adult women, 18 to 64 years, resistance training becomes essential, not optional. It improves cardiometabolic health, supports weight management, enhances functional capacity, and reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. It also improves mood, reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression, and enhances overall quality of life. Resistance training should be performed 2 to 3 days per week, progressing beyond 3 days when appropriate. A typical session may include between 6 to 10 exercises targeting major muscle groups. It's recommended to begin with 1 to 2 sets of between 8 to 12 repetitions and progress toward 2 to 5 sets with loads that are goal dependent. Programs should include a mix of multi-joint movements, single joint exercises, and trunk stability work. Importantly, resistant exercise supports pelvic floor health, which is critical throughout adulthood. Pelvic floor muscle training enhances continence, core stability, and long-term function. When performed safely during pregnancy, resistance training can reduce the risk of gestational diabetes, gestational hypertension, and preeclampsia, which may support a smoother postpartum recovery. For adult women, resistance training is about being strong, optimizing strength reserves in order to enhance health and well-being and to maintain an active lifestyle. The choices made during these years determine how gradual or how steep the decline will be later in life. As women age, natural declines in muscle mass and strength increase the risk of falls, fractures, and loss of independence. Without regular resistance training, age-related dynapenia accelerates these declines. Resistant exercise is one of the most effective strategies to counteract this process. Women 65 and older should perform resistance training at least 2 days per week. Programs typically include between 8 to 10 exercises targeting major muscle groups and may involve weight-bearing calisthenics, resistant bands, machines, or free weights. Training may begin with 1 set of between 10 to 15 repetitions at lighter intensities, for example between 40 to 50% of 1 repetition maximum. As strength and confidence improve, progression toward 1 to 3 sets of between 8 to 12 repetitions at moderate intensities, for example between 60 to 80% of 1RM, is recommended. When combined with balance training, resistant exercise substantially reduces the risk of falls. It also improves bone density, preserves fast-twitch muscle fibers, and enhances overall physical function. Emerging evidence suggests resistance training may also reduce menopausal symptoms, support pelvic floor function, improve mental health, and enhance cognitive performance. Even less than 60 minutes per week of resistant exercise is associated with reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and all-cause mortality. For older women, performing resistant exercise is about preserving their strength reserve, maintaining independence, and increasing longevity. But strength across the lifespan isn't just about living longer, it's about living stronger. When women train consistently across all stages of life, they improve health, maintain independence, and support longevity.